It was just another quiet morning in downtown Miami, the city slowly waking up to its usual rhythm. But as dawn broke on January 17, 2025, the streets bore witness to a spree of shocking violence that left two homeless individuals beaten to death and two others fighting for their lives. The attacker? A man armed with a metal rod and a wooden stick, his motives as chilling as his actions. What drove Brenton Clarke to carry out this horrific rampage? And how did the city respond to such senseless brutality?
Our 911 center received a call in reference to a male armed with a stick beating up people.
He wouldn't talk to us, so we don't have information on what was his motive, what was his mental state at the time that he committed these. Not only did he commit these crimes, but he actually went back to one of the victims and hit him again.
Miami, a city known for its vibrant culture and nightlife, became the backdrop for an unimaginable tragedy when 36-year-old Brenton Clarke unleashed his fury on the city's homeless population. The attacks began in the early hours of the morning when most of the city was still asleep. Clarke, a New York City native with no known ties to Miami, prowled the streets armed with a metal rod and a wooden stick, seeking unsuspecting victims. His targets were some of the city's most vulnerable, homeless individuals who had sought refuge in the shadows of downtown Miami. Clarke's rampage began around 5:45 a.m., and the violence was both swift and brutal. He struck his victims with relentless force, showing no mercy as he left a trail of devastation in his wake. By the time police arrived, two victims lay dead, their bodies battered and broken. Two others, severely injured, were rushed to the hospital in critical condition. The swift response of the Miami Police Department led to Clarke's arrest near the crime scene. Officers described his demeanor as disturbingly calm, almost detached, as if the gravity of his actions had not registered. Please subscribe to our channel and make comments about what you think of our videos. Clarke had no prior criminal record in Miami, though authorities later uncovered a minor criminal history in his home state of New York. In custody, Clarke offered no explanation for his actions, and his silence only deepened the mystery surrounding the attacks. Was this a calculated act of hatred or the outburst of a disturbed mind? Investigators combed through his past, searching for clues that might shed light on the motives behind his violent spree. What they found instead was a man whose actions defied logic, a man who turned the quiet streets of Miami into a scene of horror. For Miami's homeless population, the attacks were a devastating reminder of their vulnerability. The victims, whose names have not yet been released, were known to frequent the downtown area. Friends and fellow community members described them as kind-hearted and resilient individuals who, despite their hardships, brought warmth to those around them. The tragedy sparked outrage and sorrow throughout the city.
This ranks up with the most violent set of offenses against defenseless, homeless individuals, not only in our community, but across the country.
Advocates for the homeless decried the lack of protections for the city's most vulnerable, calling for immediate action to ensure their safety. Community vigils were held to honor the victims, with residents coming together to mourn their loss and demand justice. As news of the attack spread, the case drew national attention, shining a harsh spotlight on the often overlooked plight of homeless individuals in America. Please subscribe to our channel and make comments about what you think of our videos. The brutality of the murders, combined with the randomness of the violence, left the public horrified. Social media was flooded with tributes to the victims and calls for justice, as well as questions about how someone like Clarke could have carried out such heinous acts without prior warning signs. Prosecutors charged Clarke with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder, and armed robbery.
So he's just attacking these people while they're sleeping, and he kills 2 of them. So I believe there's probable cause for all the charges.
The charges reflected not only the gravity of his crimes, but also the calculated nature of his actions. Some local officials and community leaders began pushing for the attacks to be classified as hate crimes, emphasizing the need to address violence against marginalized groups with greater urgency.
Our information so far is that the gentleman that came here from New York, who is the suspect in this case, came to our community about a week ago. We do not know him as a homeless individual. He's not in our system as being homeless.
The town is safe. The Miami Police Department stands ready to guard you and your family.
The road to justice for the victims and their families will be a long one, as the community grapples with the aftermath of such senseless violence. Brenton Clarke's trial is expected to be closely watched, not only for the legal outcome but also for the broader implications it holds for society's treatment of homelessness and mental health. For those who knew the victims, their deaths are a stark reminder of the humanity often forgotten in society's most marginalized populations. They were more than just statistics. They were people with stories, struggles, and a will to survive in a world that often turned its back on them. Miami may eventually return to its vibrant rhythm, but the scars left by Brenton Clarke's rampage will linger. The city has been forced to confront uncomfortable truths about the vulnerability of its homeless residents and the systemic failures that leave so many at risk. As the community rallies to support those affected by the tragedy, there is a renewed determination to fight for justice, not just for the victims of this senseless act, but for all those who continue to live on the margins of society. Brenton Clarke's actions have left a lasting mark on Miami, but the city's response, a mix of grief, outrage, and resilience, proves that even in the darkest of times, there is hope for healing and change. Please subscribe to our channel and make comments about what you think of our videos.